Ledama.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I thank you for giving me this opportunity to try and enlighten Kenyans, mostly on what this parliament is all about. Mr. Speaker, sir, I support the statement by the majority leader on the importance of understanding what we are doing in this country. Mr. Speaker, sir, very often I tend to think that a lot of the people who are in the National Assembly do not understand what kind of government we have in this country. And it's a high time, Mr. Speaker, sir, that I think the Speaker of that House introduces a course in Political Science 101 to be able to differentiate between a presidential system of government, a parliamentary system of government, and a sort of like a blend of the two. Mr. Speaker, sir, someone once said that if you become ignorant and you think that you have the solution for everything, then you should go out there and look for an island to live. Because when you live in a place where there are many people, listen and learn. And maybe you'll be able to learn. Mr. Speaker, sir, Kenyans out there ought to understand why this Senate is important. When I first came here, Mr. Speaker, sir, the first words that came out of my mouth was that this is the House of Union. This is a house that unites the entire country. We have 47 men and women who are elected by people who are sometimes maybe 4 or 5 times the number of people who elect a member of the National Assembly. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have 20 or so women who are nominated. We have people, we have a man and a woman of the youth. We have a man and a woman of the disabled to be able to represent their interests. Mr. Speaker, sir, when we talk about devolution, we talk about services going closer to the people. And we want Kenyans out there to know what this National Assembly is all about. If you look at the men and women who are seated here, I dare say, Mr. Speaker, sir, we do a damn good job in thinking and trying to chart a way forward for this country. Listen to the level of debates. Listen to the content of the men and women who are seated here. We don't sit down and discuss where we should be going and how we should be protected from members of the staff of this parliament. We talk about how we are going to advance devolution in this country. Mr. Speaker, sir, when a bill is brought before this House, if it touches on the issues of counties, every man and woman here who represent the interests of their people stands up and contributes. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm one of those people who believe that this constitution, although hurried, it really is a very good constitution. And if we follow it to the latter, it can be able to help us, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, Kenyans out there ought to understand that members of the Senate are also members of Parliament. In most cases, when the press says MPs, everyone thinks are the members of the National Assembly. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is important for even the press to educate members of the public that Article 93 of the Constitution establishes the Parliament of Kenya, which has 2 houses. The first house is the National Assembly. The second house is the Senate. Article 94 gives us the power to be able to make legislation. When you go to Article 95, Mr. Speaker, sir, that is what defines the role of the National Assembly. 96 defines clearly the role of this House. When we talk about Parliament, Parliament is both houses. And those members of Parliament who are the lower house, I dare say they're in the lower house, because when a member elected by his constituency can stand up and say Parliament or National Assembly, it doesn't even say Parliament. It says Parliament should abolish Senate. He forgets that members of the Senate are members of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, sir, ignorance sometimes is not defense, but nothing in all can help these people who are so ignorant. I think the best thing to do, and if we were to amend the Constitution today, there are few things that we must do, Mr. Speaker, sir. Number one, we must give the Senate original jurisdictions on legislation. This will be able to solve the problem, whereby we sit down here, we spend sleepless nights, think about ideas, develop legislation that we know will be able to help this country, but once they go to the National Assembly, they're killed there. It's a shame, and shame on you. We're in this country to be able to ensure posterity. We're in this country to develop legislation that will go beyond the time that God would be kind to give us in this world. When we're elected as leaders, Mr. Speaker, sir, we are here to represent the interests of the nation, not to line our own pockets. The amount of divisiveness in this National Assembly on a daily basis, Mr. Speaker, sir, shocks me. I wonder why they bring up issues. We don't care about money. What we care is about this country developing, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, unless we stand firm and take on our role as members of parliament, as members of this House and the Senate, and defend our counties, no one will defend our counties. Mr. Speaker, sir, what these members of the National Assembly want is to be given a big kitty so that they can go, and instead of them focusing on development, they go and they lie to the people that I am giving you scholarship, I'm giving you a dormitory here, I'm building a hospital here for you. That is not their money. This is taxpayers' money. Wake up, Kenya. Listen. Listen to these men and women of integrity who are seated here, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, when you look at the level of commitment by the members and women in this House when it comes to committee work, compare it with the level of commitment of the men and women in the lower house. The other day, Mr. Speaker, sir, we are here until 9 p.m. working on the inquiry on Solai because we care about the people of Nakuru. We want the people of Nakuru to be able to get justice. That is the kind of liberty that I, personally, Senator Ledama Ole Kina, want to pursue. I don't want to line my pocket. And I so believe that every man and woman who is here for a purpose, to defend the liberty that people believe that they brought us here so that we can be able to fight for them. The men and women in Solai, Mr. Speaker, sir, would not be able to get justice if we allow our own self to be complicit. And Mr. Speaker, sir, all these wars are coming in because maybe they would have thought that they can be able to push, and maybe they get frustrated that, oh, then Senate is also investigating this. There are few members, we can't tackle them. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is important, and I want Kenyans out there to know that the House which is representing you, the House which brought a Maasai here, brought a Kikuyu here, a Kalenjin, a Somali, is only the Senate. To be able to bring them equally, for them to look at matters that affects today, tomorrow, and the future of this country. Mr. Speaker, sir, I support the statement, and I say, when I look around, I see men and women of integrity, and that's what Kenyans ought to see. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.